There's the misconception that trusting your intuition means that you're going towards the comfortable or that it's going to be good, it's going to be easy. And yes, on the other side, it will be, but it doesn't mean that it's going to come without grief, without loss, without hard, literally the growing pains.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Purta. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I think is so important for all women to listen and know that they can do, because I don't know about you, but I know myself, probably all of my girlfriends, all the women I know at least, have grown up to be this kind of like good girl. And now we're coming into this space where I'm turning 41 next month, actually. And I'm coming into this space where like I just give less fucks about what other people are doing. And I'm more concerned about, are my decisions helping me create the life that I want, right? How does my home feel like to me? Not how does it look like to other people? And so much of that is tied to our own self-confidence in the decisions that we make for ourselves, and not outsourcing our own self-approval to other people, not feeling like we need to fit in to have that like so-called perfect life, right? Like, you know, we've all been fed the whole white picket fence house situation where like, that's goals, we should go for that. But that doesn't really take into consideration our own individual needs, wants, things that serve us. And so I'm really excited to have today's guest, Taylor Nosakhere. She's an intuition coach. So we're going to dive into what the hell is intuition? How do we even tap into that if you feel disconnected to it? And how we can begin to curate our life in a way that feels better for us, where it's like tailor-made, like pun intended, tailor-made for us, so that we can feel better about our life and not like feel like, well, we've set our life up to how we've been told we should, but yet something feels like it's missing, right? So Taylor, welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. For those who are new to you, can you please share with us where you live, how old your kids are, and what led you to become an intuition coach?
I'm totally going to steal tailor-made. That's awesome. Tailor-make your life. I am smack dab in the middle of the country. I'm Kansas City, Missouri, and I have a 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old, twin 5-year-olds that just had a birthday last week. And then my 2-year-old is also a twin, and his sister actually passed away at birth. And that is a huge part of my pivot into this chapter of my career and business and just like soul mission, to be honest. So 4 rowdy boys at home, and I've always kind of done things a little bit differently, and I didn't even realize I did that. And I say always, like maybe not as like a kid, but like definitely in high school it kind of started. Like I was like, I'm going to go to culinary school or be an actress, or, you know, like I got straight A's, but still like going kind of the arts route. And then kind of jump ahead a little bit, I became a birth doula in 2020 after having my son in 2018, and my eyes just being cracked wide the fuck open to honestly, the lies that are being told to women as they are supposed to be going through the most powerful moment of their entire like womanhood, birthing another human being. And they are put into situations where their autonomy is stripped, they're belittled, their voice is taken. They come out the other side feeling like, what the fuck just happened? This happened to me. I was not in the driver's seat or even an active participant in my experience, they feel inadequate. They feel like their body failed them. They feel like they don't trust themselves. And then we take that lack of self trust into motherhood. We don't trust ourselves. If we're literally told that our body failed us and we can't like trust our own womanhood to do what it was supposed to do without all of this management and intervention, we then take that into motherhood. And I was just seeing that over and over and over again. And when I had my son, my eyes were cracked open to this stuff. I was like, how is this not common knowledge? I started prenatal coaching before I was a doula, but then soon realized, like, okay, I think I need to go through doula training, but pushed it away for the longest time because I'm like, but I have a little kid and I'm going to grow more, I'm going to grow my family more. How do I do this? But it was just one of those things where the whispers, the nudges, the intuition was just like, nope, you got to do this. So I did it and was a birth doula, very, very part-time, but through the last 6 years, as I had 2 more pregnancies that were twin pregnancies, breastfed, all of the things. And then in 2024, I had my second set of twins and my daughter passed away in birth. And I completely shut my doula business down. I loved the work that I was doing, but I just simply couldn't be around the birth world. I just couldn't show up in the same way. My drive to just talk about birth and all of that just kind of, when I get in conversation, I can do it, but just to make that the center of my content, I was like, I just can't. And even before becoming a doula and throughout that process, I had some other side gigs going on at the time so that I didn't have to take on quite as many births a month. And it always came back to like helping women trust themselves in birth, I had a network marketing business at the same time, helping women trust themselves in like having a career while raising kids, and you can do things differently, and you don't have to just like drop your baby off at daycare if you don't want to, but you also don't have to just like be, a stay-at-home mom with your passions on the back burner if you don't want to do that either. And so it was like, we can do things differently. And, through COVID and making kind of against the grain medical choices. And I'm just like, wow, like people are like mothers are just, they don't have anyone really in their corner to help them through this self-trust. And so after the loss of my daughter, it was just like, what am I going to do? I paused everything for the longest time. And then it was like, I went back and got a job at a nonprofit working with doulas actually. And I did some coaching. And then over the course of kind of a spiritual awakening last year, I finally was like, I am just going to own this shit. Like, I am just going to own that intuition, helping women trust themselves has always been at the core of everything I've done. And it doesn't have to be in the birth room and it doesn't have to be specifically entrepreneurs, but like literally helping women trust themselves. And so I kind of grabbed that by the reins in October, November of last year. And I just know for a fact this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this earth. And I feel like I'm on fire. So
that's amazing. Yeah. There's so much power that comes from women when they learn to trust themselves, because you said it best, we're just constantly second guessing, and we're also receiving that from other people. Like, are you sure you want to do that? Especially if it's anything that's against the grain or against what most people are doing, right? I myself, like, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp with my intuition, like, hence me doing this kind of work. I started out in corporate, I followed the whole plan, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not it. And a lot of people looked at me like, are you sure you want to do that? And 8 years later, here I am, I'm still doing it. And it's literally the most fulfilling thing that I could think of doing with myself. That fuels like the passion that I have to support, like, for helping people and being there for families in this way. And I kind of want to like take it back, right? For those who are like, what do you mean by follow your intuition? Yeah. Right? I feel like this is not something that's taught unless you have more like a hippie mom or a dad who's like, oh, like helping you get in touch with really that side of yourself. But like traditionally, we're like academics and, all that. Like, yes, I believe in science, and there is a part of us that's not tapped that wield so much power in self-empowerment. So can you share with people, first of all, what is intuition? And what are some ways that women can start to develop a relationship with their intuition?
Yeah. So it's funny that you said that because I joke on my account. I'm like, we say, trust your intuition, but everyone's like, what the fuck does that even mean? And I actually created a private podcast called How the Fuck to Trust Yourself because it's like, what does that mean? So this is my belief, and there are different beliefs about what intuition is. So for listeners, like, feel free to take this and kind of mold this as your own according to maybe your own religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs. But I believe in God, maybe not necessarily the Christian God, but I believe in a source, higher power, universe, divine. And I believe that your intuition is divine source speaking to you. So I believe it is how God speaks to me, and I believe it is how God speaks to us. So when I am following my intuition, or I am coaching someone to follow their intuition, I'm like, you are actually following God's plan, or you are following your destiny, or you are following your soul contract. Whatever version of that belief you have, I believe that your intuition is guiding you towards it. So if you follow it, you can't go wrong. And I don't mean that it's not gonna be hard, and I don't mean that you're not gonna like fall along the way, but you can't go wrong, meaning you're not gonna look back and regret it. This is my belief, my hot take, that like if you are always following your intuition, you will never regret anything in your life. And there's obviously many times where maybe we do regret something, but I want you to like look back on that thing. Was I actually trusting myself in that moment, or was I trusting that outside voice? Was I trusting that past programming? Was I trusting that fear? So when it comes to intuition, I kind of put people in 3 buckets. I'm like, you're either in bucket 1, which is where you don't even know what that thing is saying. Maybe you're so overwhelmed, or you're drowning in motherhood. You're just like, I couldn't tell you what it was saying if I even wanted to. Most people are in bucket 2 or 3. Bucket 2 is, I kind of hear the whispers, I kind of hear the nudges, but I'm struggling to discern. Like, is that my intuition, or is that something my mom used to say? Is that my intuition, or is that what my best friend told me I should do? Is that intuition, or is that a subconscious fear that I have? Is that intuition, or is that actually a limiting belief? I teach this in kind of a few different ways. And I will be honest, a lot of this is a little bit of trial and error. And I like to think of it as like going to the gym, like you're flexing the muscle. You have to kind of flex the muscle to get to your end goal. And if your end goal is to trust yourself fully and radically, then you have to flex that self-trust muscle and kind of like play with it. But I believe that anytime you are making a decision from fear, like true fear, that is usually not your intuition. And obviously, there is nuance to that because your brain does not know the difference between like literal death and I'm going to go create a podcast that's going to put me vulnerable and put my voice out there, and nobody's going to like me and people are going to hate me and I'm going to be cast out of the tribe and freeze and die. Your brain doesn't know the difference. And so if we are making a decision, like let's say to not start the podcast because our brain thinks that we're literally going to get cast out of the tribe and die, then anytime we're making a decision from fear, to me, that's kind of the opposite of intuition. Now, do not get this confused with like you're walking down a dark alley and like you get that gut feeling that someone's following you. Like that's like a different type of intuition. What I'm talking about is like decisions in motherhood, like taking your power back in your decision making. Obviously, there's like that intuition of like, don't go down the dark alley. And those are kind of separate conversations, but in this context. And another thing that I love to teach people, and I am not a human design expert by any means, but I love to have people check out what is their human design authority, because your human design authority, by the way, is how your intuition kind of speaks to you. And so I always used to think, well, that initial gut feeling is my intuition. Of course I should go do that thing, because it was an excited full body yes. Little did I know I was an emotional authority, which if you're not familiar with that, it means you don't get that initial hit. You have to ride the high of the yes and then kind of ride the low of the no, and you wait till it comes to a neutral. And when I found that out, I realized I was making a lot of quick yes decisions out of FOMO and scarcity. And I was like, oh, no wonder I'm like spending all my money and like saying yes to things and then burning myself out. So go find out your human design authority. That's a big one. And start playing with making decisions according to whatever your human design authority is. And you can literally like go onto Google and get like a free thing, like Google human design, and it'll spit you out a thing. You usually just have to trade your email address. But I think that is a big one. And then honestly, another thing is just like asking yourself the right questions. My podcast is a great place to start. How the fuck to trust yourself. It's $9, but I'm giving it to your listeners for free. So I have a code for you.
Oh, thank you so much. There is so much in that. I love that you brought up human design. I sometimes use that with my clients because I did go through a training for that. And I thought it was hilarious when you're like, but I'm like, oh, I bet she's emotional authority.
I did not know.
Yeah. It's so important to know like the individual side of how you work. And some people are like, human design, that's weird, whatever. But I have not met one person where, you know, I've read their chart for them and they're like, that's wrong. You know, if anything, they're like, oh, actually, yeah, I did notice that about myself. But anyway, so much of intuition is not like the easiest path to follow, right? And I kind of want to touch back on how you said that you won't ever regret it and that it's following God, universe, source's plan for you. And I think people mistaken that with, well, if I follow my intuition, then life should be good all of the time. And so much of our life path is having to encounter challenges to shape and mold us to be ready for the next part, like the next chapter of our lives. So looking back, like if you literally look back on your life, you're like, oh, these defining moments were really challenging at the time, but I couldn't have become who I am today without those moments. And sometimes your intuition will kind of lead you into those trials or growth moments. So just like, you know, you're like, you can't tell the difference between physical fear and emotional or mental fear. I kind of want to talk about that because that is a really big block for a lot of people. Like myself included sometimes, right? I remember the first time I was asked to be a guest speaker in front of like 200 people and I was like, you know, like I am not someone who feels comfortable public speaking yet. And I followed my intuition and I did it and it landed really well. But like if I had just relied on how my body felt, like it just wanted to shut down, like don't do it, don't put yourself in that situation. So how can people start to discern that? Like what are some things to pay attention to help them kind of be like, oh, is this a growth moment? Are we actually safe? And this is just our brain trying to like keep us in perceived safety, but really we're safe no matter what we choose to do. Because I don't want people to keep themselves in a box that, let's say, other people define.
Yeah. One of the things that I do with my clients first thing is we go through, and I used to do this with my birth clients too, about their birth, is a list of journaling prompts. And the gist of it, even though the questions are a lot deeper than this, is like, how do you want to feel and what do you want your life to look like? And I ask you a lot of really like interesting questions to pull some things out of you that you may not have ever thought of before. And in doing that, we get to this, okay, this is how I want to feel, and this is what I truly want out of my life. And if you can look at the things that you're doing on a day-to-day and know, like, these things just aren't getting me there. Like, the example that comes to mind is, and you kind of alluded to this with your corporate situation, is like, let's say you're at a job, let's say it's cush, like you've got good paid vacation, good salary, they're even flexible with the hours, maybe you can even work from home, and like it is good. But you look at how you want to feel and you look at how you want your life to look, and like you're not getting any of that from your job. You're not feeling fulfilled. You can't spend your time and your days the way you want to. Maybe you're missing out on some things with your kids because you have to go to this 9 to 5 or whatever it is. Like, that's when you can, like, that is the beginning. Like, those are some of those beginning signs of like, I have to make a shift. And usually it starts soft. It's that whisper, it's that nudge, like, have you ever thought of starting a podcast? And you're like, no, I have a cush job. Like, when am I going to do that? And then the next time you're like laying in bed and you're like, podcast, and you're like, no, like, when would I have time for that? And then your brain starts to be like, okay, well, maybe I could do it on the weekends, or maybe I could do it after work, And then like it starts to kind of build it. So it's like, like telltale sign number one is like the things you're doing in a day to day don't match like where you want to go or how you want to feel. And then the second one would be if it like keeps coming up. If something keeps coming up, and this is more talking like big vision, but if we're talking like smaller day-to-day decisions, to me, it's like when things just feel off. Like you get the urge to say something, but you kind of get that lump in your throat and you don't say it. Pay attention to that. If it happens the next time you're with that group of people, okay, let's clock that. We have to start to clock these things first. Or if you're like, hey, you girls' night, do you want to go? And you're like, well, I always say yes. And then you start to realize like these girls are always just like shit talking their husbands and shit talking their kids, and like I'm like not really my highest self around these people. And like you're just kind of starting to clock those moments where things are just feeling off. That is the first step. Obviously, making the shift is the harder part because that's where the tough conversations, the boundaries, the like I have to actually do the thing that feels really fucking scary comes in. But that's what I would say for kind of things to look for. And I just created a reel today actually about how our brain and our intuition, like our brain is the mean girl and our intuition is like the new girl at school, and our brain is like, fuck off, you cannot sit with us, because our brain does not like what our intuition is telling us. Our intuition is telling us to do the scary thing, and our brain is like, no, like on Wednesdays we wear pink or whatever. Like you can't sit with us, because, and so that is when we start to notice those discrepancies of like, I'm starting to feel this weird thing. That's really when
It kind of like gives me this reminder of how often people kind of just like fall in line and just do what they're supposed to do or what's expected of them or what they've always done, which means that you're not really spending much time checking in with yourself, reflecting. Is this what I want to do in this moment? Does that fit me in this season that I'm in right now? And I think we need to check in with ourselves about like, is this still working for me? Instead of just like, oh, this is the one way to go and like, let's just go. Like, it's kind of like, I grew up in the Bay Area, so like the Monterey Bay Aquarium is like my favorite aquarium ever. It is incredible. And one of the tanks has, what is it, sardines, or I think it's sardines. They all swim in one direction, like a whole horde of them, right? It's like a whole school of fish. And so much of living an aligned life, right? Which means following your intuition, which means checking in with yourself, which means advocating for yourself, not just swimming in the same direction as everyone else, right? It really does require you to pause and like ask yourself, is this what I want to do? Like, instead of like, oh, well, I think they want me there, and so I should go. Instead of like, oh, I want to support my friend, and so I'm going to go, right? And I've gotten to this point where like, I'll say no to things and people understand that I'm doing it because it's what I feel like is for the greater good of myself at the moment. Like, let's say I'm really burned out. And if a friend says that to me, I'm like, yeah, you should take care of yourself. Like, yes, I'll miss you. And like, let's plan a different time to hang out. But like, there's just so much less guilt and shame around it when you come to this place where you can just own your
Yeah.
decisions, because you know that it will benefit yourself, which will then benefit everybody else. Because once you start doing it, you're going to give other people permission to set their own boundaries, to do what's right for them. And truly, if we're really good friends, we'll want that for each other, right? We'll want to support each other in making the best call for them at the time, even if it's not necessarily what we
Mm-hmm.
might want from them. And I want more women to do
Yeah,
this.
and that's the thing is like we would think that when I start to do more for me so that I can ripple that out to everyone else, that my friends, my family, my whomever would be supportive. And the sad part is that isn't always the case. And this is the hardest part of this work is the potential loss of if it's relationships or whatever, there is a grieving process that does come with radical self trust. Um, because when you swim the opposite way in the tank, people are going to be like, what in the hell? When you go against the grain, when you make choices that the entire system, the society, whether it be just your friend group or whether it be, more societal, like systemic, when you start to go against that, people don't like it. We wish people would support us knowing that's what's best for her. Go, girl. And typically we have to make that choice. Like the people that are close to us will support us and we know that they're the real people. And then the ones that are close to us that don't, we have to come to terms with the fact that maybe those people are not meant to come with us in this next season. And that is really, really fucking hard and brutal. And I am not going to say that that is easy at all. And I'm just going to say this just so that people understand that even as somebody who, for me, autonomy is non negotiable in my life, trusting my intuition is non negotiable in my life, but I am not exempt. Like, I hate uncomfortable conversations. I get queasy every single time I think I have to have one. I avoid conflict like the plague, which you would not know if you like heard me talking because you're like, "Oh my god, she's an advocate. Like she's going to like go into the birth room and like say something or she's going to do this thing that's wild like so against the grain." And no. Like I get white coat syndrome when I'm in the doctor's office. I avoid conflict like the plague. I am fearful of losing relationships in my life, but at the same time, I do it anyways. And I haven't always,
Mm-hmm.
but I noticed when I didn't, I would have regrets. The resentment loops are running rampant for the women that aren't doing this. This is, I think every single client that has come into my world that we've started to break this open and talk about this, the word resentment has come up so much because they either resent someone in their life who they're saying yes to when they wish that they weren't. They're resenting someone in their life who is holding them back from a yes that they want to say yes to, or they're resenting a past version of themselves. One of those three is happening. And I will tell you something that is a hard truth. Nobody can make you feel anything. And resentment is one of those things that, like, if you feel resentment towards someone, I'm not saying that they're not in the wrong at all. I'm not saying that they're doing everything right. But what I am saying is you are letting them have power over you. You need to create a boundary. You need to do something different. And that shit is hard. But that's why I do what I do, is because I'm like, why should women have to do that alone? Like, I can sit here and say all this stuff, but you go out to execute and you're like, I'm floundering. So that's why I do what I do, because I'm like, let me link arms with you and support you through these hard decisions, through this like potential loss of a relationship that, you're literally going to have to grieve what you thought it was going to be. Um, and it might not be like a close relationship, like a marriage or a best friend. I mean, it might be, but it might just be it just sucks that now I don't get along with the moms group that my kid plays soccer with. Like, they think I'm crazy because I do this thing and they do this thing. You know what I mean? It could be something that simple, but those things feel awkward to us. And it does feel like we're the new girl at the mean girls table, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, this is easier said than done, of course, but this kind of goes along with what you're saying. If you're going to disappoint someone, it's best to
Mm-hmm.
disappoint other people and not yourself, because you are the one that needs to live with your
Yeah.
decisions. And I think if you, at the end of the day, if you're not happy with the situation that you've put yourself in with your decisions, that feels
So
shitty,
shitty.
right? And this also spans into motherhood as
Mm-hmm.
well, right? Like, let's say you are really needing a boundary with your kid and you keep entering in this like cycle with them all of the time, repetitively. Like, they do this and then you lose your shit, and they do it again and you lose your shit. And you're like, gosh, I just want a better relationship with you. Okay, well, as the adult doing the hard thing of
Mm-hmm.
parenting, what do I need to put in place so that we can end this loop, right? Like, this is especially relevant to me because yesterday my son was like refusing to do homework. I'm like,
I was gonna say, don't make me
we
speak
need
on this one because this is the area of my life that I'm still really, really actively working on. Like,
yeah,
this
totally.
is my first
Same,
time
right?
being a
Same,
mom to a
totally.
7-year-old. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, my oldest is
Mhm.
16 and I still have those moments, but
They
every child is
are.
different and you are different and you have a different capacity. Like, maybe we have more patience and resilience, but we're also more full with responsibilities as you have more
Mhm.
kids, right? And so a lot of it is giving ourselves grace and learning. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing, is like, oh shit, okay, well, what can I do differently to create a different situation
Mhm.
out of this? Like, how can we evolve out of this habit that we keep stepping into, whether it's with your kids, with your marriage, with your friend group, with your family, with work? And it's just noticing, oh, this is not working for me. What can I
Mhm.
shift?
Well, and where I see this showing up a lot in motherhood as well is the decisions that you're not only making for you, but the decisions that you're making for your family. And that can cause a lot of
Mm-hmm.
tension in family dynamics potentially. Like, oh, you're going to homeschool your kids, but are they going to be this? And oh, you're going to, maybe go an alternative health route. Like, what about this? And like all of these decisions that we make for our family that maybe society is like, I don't like that. Too much screen time, not enough. You breastfeed, you formula feed. It's like, as moms, we can't fucking get it right. So I'm like, you're literally not going to please everybody. So fucking do what you want to do.
Nope.
Do what your intuition is telling you. But the
Yes.
problem is, moms don't even know what their intuition is telling them sometimes because they're just like, I'm getting all of this information from everywhere. And like you said, they're not taking that time to just like, whoosh, like, what do I want in this moment? And then
Mm-hmm.
another way I see this coming up in motherhood specifically is, are we showing our kids what we actually would want for them? Do you want your kid to be the people pleaser, the person who bends over backwards for everybody else and always puts themselves last? Do you want your kid to be the one that puts their dreams on the back burner so that they can go do what society tells them they have to do, even though it makes them miserable? Do you want your kid to, just go with the grain just so that they won't ever have a friend dislike them, even if it like is eating them away and they're a shell of themselves? Like, no, you would never want that for your kids. So we have to model a different life. If we are sitting here telling our kids, you can be anything, you can do anything, blah blah blah, but we're over here like, yeah, sure, Susan, I'll head the PTA fucking bullshit again. Like, no, I fucking won't, Susan. No, I won't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have to model that for our kids. And even if they're not seeing every single decision, like, they're seeing it. You know what I mean? Like, they're noticing shit that we don't even know that they're noticing.
Yeah, I went through that actually. So almost 2 years ago, I moved
Oh,
across the
wow.
country, and I have never left California before. Like, living wise, I've traveled, but like, I basically lived within a 25-mile radius my entire life up until 2 years ago. And when we made the decision to move to Georgia, everyone was like, "What? Why would you do that? Are you sure you want to do that?" You know, like, I had some pretty strong opinions from family. They got pretty upset
Wow.
that we were doing this. And I was like, this is what's right for our family. And had I not had that courage and that, like, worked out that muscle, right? That would have been really hard. It would have really made me second guess our
Mm-hmm.
decision. But it was like, once my husband and I made the decision, it was like, no one's going to change our minds. Now it's just about
Mm-hmm.
communicating it and kind of just like managing people's grief over us
Yes.
leaving the community. And I'm the
Mm-hmm.
oldest daughter, so like that was a big deal for my family. They're like, well, who's gonna do this? And I was kind of the glue.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was always like the one including people and gathering people and all that stuff. And it's just like, I gotta do this for my family. Like we gotta move. Because my stepson decided to move in with his mom over here, and then we had to deal with like our own personal grief of like, oh my gosh, we're always going to feel
Mm-hmm.
left out because people are going to still do their thing and we're going to be nowhere near their
Mm-hmm.
space. Like we're not going to see people as often, we're not going to be able to go to events nearly as often. It's just going to be different. But at the end of the day, this goes back to what you're saying, Taylor. What's the life that you want to
Mm-hmm.
work towards? You have to make decisions that help you
Mm-hmm.
get there, right? So that's where your intuition kicks in, and you're just needing to like hold on to that vision and trust the process. And I know that can be really scary for people who are new to that. And they're like, well, this is new. I don't know what's on the other side. And your brain literally wants to keep you where it's
Yep.
comfortable. And growth is not
Not at all.
comfortable.
Yeah. It's not. It's not. And you said this at the beginning, but maybe there's the misconception that trusting your intuition means that you're going towards the comfortable or that it's going to be good, it's going to be easy. And yes, on the other side, it will be,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean that it's going to come without grief, without loss, without hard. Literally the growing pains, when we think about growth. And I'm sure it's been on everybody's Instagram feeds everywhere, but like coming out of the year of the snake, you think about the snake. The reason why they shed their skin is because they're growing, and shedding the skin is painful. And like it takes time, and they have to slough it off, and it doesn't just happen right away. And like, it's that's how it is for us too. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
This is super random, but I saw a video of how crabs get bitten, and
yeah,
that really
the
looks
crabs
painful.
too.
That really looks painful. Like, yes, the snake is like shedding its skin, but it's like we shed our skin
Yeah.
all the time. Like, it's just everywhere, hence all the vacuuming and stuff. But like the crabs, if you have
No,
never seen a
I need to watch
crab
this.
outgrow its shell, like it looks painful. It literally has to like exit out of the shell, and then it's soft for a while,
Oh,
and it has to grow a bigger shell because its body is outgrowing the current
wow.
home. And so yeah, growth, it
Mm-hmm.
stretches us. It's going to be uncomfortable, but in that discomfort is where we come out of it stronger and knowing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
more, and it builds our resilience and our awareness of what do I want. And in that knowing, we then get to advocate for ourselves. We get to give ourselves agency. And so if you're like, gosh, I wish I was there and I want to build that up, Taylor's your girl. Okay, go check out that podcast that she's giving us free access to.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Thank
I'll
you so
get you
much
the
for your
code and you can
generosity.
drop it in the show notes or whatever because I want you to have
Yeah,
your own
yeah.
code just for you.
Thank you. Taylor, thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for being on the show. For those who are just like eating all of this up and wanting to develop that connection to their intuition to really live a more fulfilled life for themselves and feel more empowered and feel more confident about how they're doing life and knowing that it's them doing it their way, what's the best way to connect with you?
Honestly, Instagram. Yeah, that's where I hang out. So just my full name. So Taylor Nosakhere. No underscores, no periods. That is Nosakhere. And yeah, I've got 6-week intensives that I do. I've got a long-term group that I hold. And yeah, the private podcast that I'm giving to you guys for free. And then I also have like a free podcast like this that I add to. I would say weekly, but it's definitely not weekly at this point in my life. and that is called Intuition Vigilante. So go check that out too if you want. But yeah, definitely Instagram. DM me. I don't bite. I like literally love getting messages. And there's no such thing as, oh my God, I'm too rambly. Like drop me a voice message and like give me the ramble. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing about how this all works with connecting with intuition. Ladies, if you have loved this episode, please go connect with her. Okay, go grab that free access to her private podcast so you can learn how to strengthen that muscle to connect with your intuition. And if you know someone that can benefit from this episode, please share this with them. Better yet, share it in your stories on Instagram and tag us so we can give you a shout out. And if you love this show, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you listening to this show. And I would love it if you would consider leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's what helps this show grow and helps more people like you get the help that they need. And that's all we have for today. I will catch you back here on the next episode. Bye. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Purta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.